move on quickly, but this is an easy segue as long as we're talking about people who are bitter, uneducated, and hate children. I do want to get into, because I know you guys have talked about this on your show, and it is a corner of the internet that I'm kind of fascinated with. And I'm talking about, now that our Chapo Trap House is gone, probably the single most charming Reddit subgroup is our childfree. And you guys have delved into this on your show, but how would you describe the ethos or the prevailing ideology of our child free? And then I have some choice selections from the group.
Well, there are people who just don't have kids, and that's like 99% of my friends, and they're fine, normal people, friends of mine. Then there are people who their whole personality is like being a new atheist, except for not having kids, right? So they're like epic science for the win. I did a dunk on someone in public and everybody clapped. It's a very extreme kind of exaggerated form of who I am is not only not having, but actually hating children and their parents, which leads to a lot of funny hijinks on that subreddit.
It seems like their main concern is things that take place in movie theaters and toy stores. Because these are
in
adult
common
men.
with Kevin D. Williamson.
yeah, absolutely. It's like these are adult men who spend a lot of time in malls, toy stores, and movie theaters, and consuming entertainment for children, who are obsessed with the idea that the intended audience and target demographic for the products and things that they enjoy are in fact children themselves. And I'm just going to read one here. This is an R child free post that I have to read here. Headline: Is anyone else just sick of Baby Yoda? The stupid, disgusting green crotch spawn drives me insane. Who cares if two Yodas fucked? It just encourages crotch spawn mentality and pro-crotch spawn spaces. Plus, you just absolutely know this little disgusting, sickly child painted green will win best costume at the opening night of The Rise of Skywalker, despite the hundreds of hours of effort put in by actual fans. It makes my blood boil. This stupid green cunt.
Does he think that the Baby Yoda isn't a puppet? It's like just a kid that they
No, he's imagining that his Kit Fisto costume that he spent all that time on will go unrecognized because of some damn kid.
But
that's upsetting.
What I think is illuminating about that is that he's furious at Baby Yoda and a Star Wars character that's appealing to children, but of course, like everyone who cares about this does, because they got into Star Wars when they were children. And like this, it just seems to be this like weird, like sort of psychological distancing of like hating children in childhood among adult men to cover up for the fact that like emotionally they haven't like progressed past being a child or having an unhappy childhood.
We also have to acknowledge that we don't know if two Yodas fucked.
They could reproduce, parthenogenetically.
That's true.
I mean, it is canon that Anakin Skywalker was immaculately conceived through force manipulation by Darth Sidious, so we don't know how beings as powerful as the Yodas reproduce. But I would think that even if you hate the Baby Yoda for being a baby, and if you're one of these people, you would love the Baby Yoda for eating all of those eggs of the space frog, thus like aborting a ton of potential crotch spawn from existence.
It's a net win.
Yeah.
I'm imagining this guy sitting in the theater getting extremely pissed at Rise of Skywalker, not because it sucked, but because there are like porgs and they're baby-like.
Yeah, I love all the, like, everyone who gets mad about Star Wars, like one way or the other. Either people who, like, I don't know, for like some political reason they like the new one or they hate it. Or like just going through the trouble to get that like Gina Carano fired, or like being mad that she got fired, one way or the other, because it's like at the end of the day, it's like you've spent 12 years arguing over like Star Wars, The Pacifier Adventures, Baby Force One. Like this is just the Muppets. Mm-hmm. That's literally all this is. This is so strictly for babies.
And it reminds you that the best way to understand a lot of this very like emphatic cult, like identity based hostility to children is really just the anger of a kid when a younger kid comes into the family. Like I'm baby. Why are you looking at that baby? I'm baby. Like everyone's an overgrown child and they don't want attention to anyone else because that's what kids like.
It reminds me of something I did that I'm very embarrassed of that I did when I was like 5. And there was a kid like probably 2 years younger than me, like a 3-year-old at the playground, and he jumped down like one set of steps on the playground, and his mom went like, good job, Ryan. And I was like, I just went down 3 steps. I know I was 5, but like I'm still very embarrassed.
Matt does that to our kids all the time, to our own children. And he has, like, we were at an aquarium one time in Boston, and there were a ton of little school kids behind us. And there was a cuttlefish. I was like, oh, look, a cuttlefish. They're really smart. And Matt goes, not as smart as me. Like a dozen children behind us.
Well, he's technically correct. He's technically correct.
No, he's not wrong.
My daughter will be like, I can't touch the door. Matt's like, I can. Bam.
Owned.
I don't know what's going to happen with that.
That is an underrated benefit of having kids is you get to feel like a god. Damn, these kids, like you don't know that I'm still here after I put my hands in front of my face, you idiot.
Well, here's one more clip from the Art Childfree that I think sums up a lot of what's going on here. Just reading here, it says, society really needs to let go of this idea of unconditional love when it comes to kids. A baby doesn't love you unconditionally. A baby is a bundle of 100% pure selfishness. It wants what it wants when it wants it. And to be honest, most babies under 6 months probably don't care much about who. They're just a massive black hole of time and energy. And what I love so much about that is he's like, the concept of unconditional love as it applies to children means the parent's love for the child, not a newborn infant's love for its parents. Yes, you're right. It's an infant. It doesn't have self-awareness yet. It means the parent unconditionally loves the child despite it being a black hole of time, energy, and selfishness.
But the thing is, this person, they can't imagine being a child, but they can imagine hypothetically being a parent. And so it's all about, well, what about me? Where is the love for me? It's because it's all transactional. That's like they can't even imagine it as being anyone doing anything for any reason other than self-interest.
I'm surprised that no one has floated the idea that little children are abusers.
They need to be held accountable. Honestly,
yes, they do.
Yeah.
We need to start holding babies
they just
accountable.
Scream at you. They break their promises all the time.
Constantly. They lie. They steal from you.
They're kind of violent. The first thing they do, really, that they learn how to do is gaslight. Like, little kids gaslight probably more than anyone.
Jane takes credit for everything.
Oh, yeah.
She told Matt that she and God made all the buildings in our city together.
Just straight face, no joke.
Yeah,
just
she's
yeah,
we did that.
Mm-hmm.
We made that one. That one. And I was extremely gaslit by that. I think the other thing about child-free that I always notice that's really funny and again makes it feel like an extremely immature place is that there's a lot of emphasis put on how disgusting and kind of just wrong and maybe even like kind of pedophiliac it is that sex makes babies. They're like furious about that fact.
Well, I mean, that was whoever decided they should be brought into the world that way really up.
I mean, I understand that, it's maybe not what you expected to hear when you were a little kid, but I think that's why they focus on stuff like crotch spawn.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how disgusting it is. They're made by sex. There's sex and then there's a baby in close and they're the vagina. This is unacceptable. And I'm like, yeah, man. I mean, most people come to terms with it at some point.
I mean, I don't know. It just seems like whether you're on the left or the right, and I remember probably one of the times I've got in the most trouble for something I've said on the show is when I simply answered a question by saying that it's okay to have kids if you want them to, despite how the world is. And a lot of people, I don't know, it's just people's anxiety over that. And it's just regardless of what you may think about the environment or, having or not having kids, it seems like it's a bad situation for any culture or civilization. If a critical mass of people just decide there's no point in reproducing yourself or the human race or just having a future with people in it. I mean, even if you make,
Yeah,
I'm not saying like if you coming, there are good and bad reasons to come to that conclusion or whatever, but it seems like regardless of where you come on the political, like ideological spectrum, it would seem that like job number one of a politics, worth supporting, is like creating the conditions in which like families can, or like, the reproduction of children and their transformation from crotch spawn into like, confident adults would be like job number one, or like you would be like policy is about making sure that that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fundamental feature of the human life. I mean, I found it very weird. When I got into this, I wasn't trying to, I don't know, encourage people to have kids or make some kind of statement that way. I was just like, well, this is something our welfare state is lacking that others aren't, and it would solve a good deal of our problems. So let's go ahead and do it. And to see that, no, actually it's extremely charged and people get very upset about it. It's like, I just don't, I mean, to me, it's almost like asking, well, should we have retired people? It's like, what,
people do ask that.
I mean, like, yeah, but don't open that door, Matt. I mean,
well, not even should people retire, but I guess I would say, should we have anyone over the age of 70? It's
Didn't
like,
who was it? Who was the Obama guy who said like?
It was Rahm Emanuel's brother.
Beyond 75,
brother.
We should just be doing Soylent Green shit and wheeling them in and just turning them into nutrient
and it was
slurry.
fascinating. It was
Ari and Rahm's brother.
Yeah, it was Zeke Emanuel,
the doctor.
Zeke Emanuel, who's like one of the top like brain surgeons in the country. Like, in the way he justified it was fascinating too, because he was like, yeah, sure. Like, if you're above 75, like, you may say, like, oh, you have a productive life, or it's fulfilling to you because you like going on bike rides or reading books or cooking a meal or taking it easy. But he's like, by my metric, that doesn't count as a productive or like justifiable life. And it's just like, speak for yourself, asshole. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, he's saying what other people value is not important. Only what he values is, without wondering whether, in fact, he's the psychopath for wanting to spend all of his time working.
Well, I mean, he's taking seriously the ideas of our society, which is that you are as valuable as your productive capacity, and
That's
small
right.
children and old people are not productive. So what do you do about them? And if there's no obligation to anybody who can't help you, and who cannot whose productivity you can't benefit from, then the answer has to be, you just let's see what happens, or maybe you have to be more proactive than that. They have to be worked out of the equation at some point.
Yeah, we can't just straight up kill people past a certain age, because that would be monstrous. But what we need to do is we need to disincentivize living past a certain point.
Yeah,
and the thing is,
it's like self-deportation for the astral plane.
But like, this is so like, how short-sighted is this? Because like, yeah, children in the immediate short term are not producing. In fact, they're only taking from society. But like, that's because you're investing them in one day them being the workers, or people maintaining the civilization that they're going to inherit. And old people have been doing it for decades. I mean, even based on like this stupid having to justify yourself to breathe oxygen on this planet, it would seem that like the old people have earned it, and that the young people are it's not just like a drain, because they're going to be productive later in life. Like, they, in fact, will be more productive the more you invest in them.
Right. The kids are learning. The people who are in the middle, they make hay while the sun is shining, and then there's a time for people to rest and look back with life in satisfaction. And that, they think that's one of maybe Weber's original points in thinking about disenchantment. Is there was a point where in history you could, finish your work in this life and rest and look back and say, yeah, I worked, I did my part, and that was it. And that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, you still work, you work until you die in this country. And also kids are though people get mad if you say they're non-workers or, workers in waiting, everything about our education system is optimized to make them good workers or better workers, or to, kind of compete well in the meritocracy. So yeah, I think it's just part of living in a really disenchanted society that eventually people are going to come around to, why are we here at all? There's no point. Maybe there shouldn't be any people.
Yeah.
Yeah, just an algorithm.
Yeah.
We can all live on the cloud.